Good morning, everyone. Welcome once again to Tuesday Tuneup here at the Epiphany Episcopal Church. Rick and I have chosen this location for a reason, because above us is a fairly recently added banner that states a vision and a hope that Epiphany has for not only all its members, but everybody who makes their way to our online content. Share your story, share your love. And what we really want to underline today is that everybody can do this. You don't have to be unusually religious or spiritual, since that seems to be the dichotomy.
Spiritual but not religious.
Right. People are one or the other, both or neither. You could be any of all of those four options and still share your story and share your love. And that's the point that I want to underline, that often what happens when people think, a church wants me to share, what that means to them is that the next time they're in the line at a grocery store, they're at Smith's, they have to say to the person in front of them, do you love Jesus? And nothing could be further from the truth. That would be so unnatural for some. In fact, just about everybody I know.
Most of us.
And almost bordering on impolite. I don't think Jesus would particularly like that. Jesus would instead rather be involved just by you being loving and attentive. But still, the assumption is that it in the end becomes a form of evangelism. But what Rick and I would like to invite you to is an even broadened sense that I'm going to start with the Great Commission. And again, I think this is where people should hear this but not be locked in by it. At the very end of Jesus' earthly ministry, he says to his apostles and followers, therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I have commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the very end of the age. See, it sounds great, but again, some immediately feel struck out that baptize them. Am I qualified to baptize?
I can't do that.
I can't do that, and I shouldn't do that. And again, we go straight to a place of limitation. Or thinking that when it says share your story, that means share your spiritual story. Not necessarily so. And the passage, since we always involve...
But that could be it.
Of course.
It's what you feel called to do, right?
Of course. What I want to underline as also words from Jesus, though, is that this idea of sharing our story and sharing our love can be something that is less frightening and at the same time something we can do more frequently. And here's the bigger prize, too. It doesn't come at personal cost or risk. It just has to do with increasing consciousness. When Jesus is talking about the Lord's Prayer and talking about asking God for things, he tells a story, but I want to modify it. I'll read his words from Luke chapter 11. Jesus says, ask and it will be given you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. For everyone who asks receives, he who seeks finds, and to him who knocks, the door will be opened. Which of you fathers, I'll change that to parents, if your son asks for a fish, will give him a snake instead? Or if your child asks for an egg, will give him a scorpion? It's an interesting option.
Yeah.
If you then, I'll stop there. What Jesus is saying is that all of us, even in the most mundane tasks, like giving our children breakfast, which we might do hurriedly and every morning of the week, right before they go to the school that's just reopened, we have an opportunity even right there to do it more in the present with more intention, and by so doing, we're sharing more love. Are you catching on here? We're trying to widen the ease of this ministry and also remind everybody that the payoff is win-win-win. You'll be happier, your loved ones will be happier, God's happier.
Right. The whole idea of share your story and share your love really comes to us from Jesus. When the scribes were asking him, so Rabbi, of those 10 commandments, which one's the most important? Jesus says, well, first is, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind. The second is like unto it, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. Jesus took the 10 commandments and brought it down to 2. Love God and love your neighbor And that's what Chris is talking about here. Look for opportunities to love. Whether we're talking about loving God or loving one another, it's no harder than that. And if we can use this share our story, share our love vision as a way to open our eyes to new possibilities, to think sort of beyond the realm of churchy things. Not everything has to fit into a churchy box. It doesn't all have to be about evangelism or outreach or pastoral care or formation. We have great churchy words. In fact, we could write a whole dictionary of churchy words. But the reality is, God doesn't call us to live just in the church. The church is a vehicle to help us live our lives in the world. So as we look to find ways to bring our story to other people, bring our love to other people, keep yourself conscious of the fact that it doesn't have to be about churchy stuff. In fact, most of our lives is, even for us who wear funny clothes and spend a whole lot more of our time in church than most people, most of our lives are still lived outside the walls of the church. So as you're wondering, how does all this relate to me? Well, I can't baptize, I can't do this, but there's a lot you can do. Look for those opportunities. Try to find ways to share your story both with God and with other people, and find ways to share your love, again, with God and with other people, in and outside the church. That doesn't sound too daunting, does it?
No, and I have one extra little something that might make it even more approachable too.
Okay.
Remember that sharing, especially in the Western world, there's, I think, an accurate presumption that means like the food we have over there in the corner that's going to the food bank, or sharing our truth through speaking. But I think God sees us as 24 hours a day able to share. As Rick just said, we spend a lot of time also just in our office sitting in front of a computer. And not all of it is interacting with others, but even then, when we're totally alone, right this moment as you watch this video, when the video ends, if you're sitting alone in an office, you can even share with yourself. You can say, what is the most loving impulse, instinct I have? And appropriately ask yourself, what am I proud of? In other words, self-love is a part of loving neighbor and God, as Jesus says, as Rick just mentioned, in the summation of the Ten Commandments. So I'm suggesting that every second of every day, you have the opportunity to benefit yourself, to gift yourself with a greater consciousness about sharing and sharing love. And that includes just adopting a more sharing disposition and presence and consciousness in your life, even at those moments when you're completely alone. You can always be sharing your story and sharing your love to the benefit of earth and heaven.
It's no harder than that, my friends. God bless you. Have a great week.